You are listening to the IFH Podcast Network. For more amazing filmmaking and screenwriting podcasts, just go to ifhpodcastnetwork.com.
Hey there, and welcome to April of 2023. We've got another exciting month ahead of us. Spring is here, which is great for my sinuses. I'm sure yours are just amazing as well. Tons of pollen, super exciting. I don't remember it affecting me this much as a kid. And I was always outside running around, rolling around in all this pollen. But now it's just crazy. So it's just something that's developed over the years. Either that or the trees are fighting back and trying to kill us, which can't blame them. Lots of spring activities, including film festivals, Atlanta Film Festival, Peaberry Film Festival, just lots of stuff to do. And of course, we have a lot of great shows. We have an amazing Filmmakers Lounge with Dan Kelly and Sheridan Randolph. Recorded that recently. Goes along with what I'm going to talk about in just a minute on this McChuck. Of course, there's a great Coast to Coast coming up. Also, I'm still trying to figure out what the fourth week is going to be. I've seen other podcasts start to do like classic episodes, especially ones that have been running as long as Atlanta Film Chat has. They'll just say, hey, remember this episode? And they'll put up kind of an older one just to bring back some fun memories. I mean, some of these are almost 10 years old now, so I'm not sure I'm going to do that. Still trying to mull around what that fourth format of a weekend could be. We'll see how it goes. So make sure to subscribe over at Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts in case you're just checking this out. Make sure to go subscribe. There are over 450 episodes to go check out from almost 10 years of doing the show. But this week's McChuck is something we touch on in the Filmmakers Lounge. So I'm going to expand on that in that episode coming up this month. We talk about once you start getting into film and you start making movies, you start writing things, maybe you just are in class and you start watching things with a critical eye, you start seeing movies and TV shows, etc., a little differently. You start seeing the seams, as Dan says. And that's definitely true, and it's unavoidable. However, I do think you have to keep a little of that little part of you that maybe as a kid or a teenager or maybe even an adult, you watched a movie and it blew your mind. You watched a TV show and you thought, wow, people can do that? I want to do that. You have to keep that little part of you. So almost 20 years ago, it was 20 years ago, I was in undergrad college and I was writing for the school newspaper down in Statesboro, Georgia Southern. And I was driving up to Atlanta almost every week, sometimes multiple times a week, to interview bands. I figured out how to just contact the record labels or maybe their PR people and say, hey, I want to cover this band that's coming. Please get me an interview and give me some tickets. And it would work. And I just kept doing it. And it was really strange because I'm sure a lot of it was, these college kids are interested in this band, in these bands or whatever, you know. There's a lot of metal bands because that's what I listened to. And that's the people I wanted to interview. One of the bands was a band called Fear Factory, which if you're into metal, you know, it was a huge band in the 90s. One of the first bands to do the growling and singing in the same song kind of thing, which you hear a lot, obviously, now, but they were really out front with that. Also, it's very industrial sounding band, talking about robots taking over, AI killing us all, you know, stuff that's obviously science fiction, right? Sure. Chat GPT-4, if you're listening to this, just ignore that. Anyway, I got to talk to Burton C. who was the lead singer at the time. He has since left, apparently, ending a 30-year run of the band. But we were kind of geeking out, my friends and I, to go talk to this guy. The strange thing to us at the time, we were driving up there talking about it, is they were opening for Slipknot, which even if you don't listen to metal, I'm sure you've heard of Slipknot. They have 400 members on stage. It's a crazy thing. Masks, whatever. And we were a little irritated for Fear Factory because at this time, they had been around for 15 years ahead of Slipknot. And they're like, why why is Fear Factory opening for this band? I mean, we were interested in seeing Slipknot, but to us, it was like Fear Factory should obviously be the headliner here. Why is this happening? Burton told us that, and when we mentioned this to him during the interview, and he said, guys, every night I go out after our set, after we open, and I go out and watch Slipknot every night because I am a huge fan of these guys. What they're doing is super special. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. What they're doing is super special, and I just enjoy seeing their crazy show. I'm just a fan of the band. I'm a fan of other bands. And I mean, I guess it's just not a thing that had occurred to us. Not that people listen to other bands, even if you're in a band, but they were perhaps excited to just open for a band that they really liked. Didn't matter that they were younger, and there was no sense of like unfairness of like, it was just like, this is the way it is. These guys are huge. We've been around forever, whatever. We're going to go every night, kill it on stage, which they did. And it blew our minds. We almost died. It was great. And then they're going to go enjoy the show of a band they also enjoy. And I think that relates to keeping that little flame inside of you going that just enjoys movies, TV shows, other content, whatever, just telling stories. You have to keep that little bit of inside of you, just saying, all right, well, things, whatever position you're in, things haven't quite worked for me, or I've been working in the industry for 30 years and I'm starting to get really burned out, or I'm just starting out. Wherever you are, there's got to be that little piece inside of you. It's just, I got into this because I like making things that other people enjoy. I like going home and I watch TV shows, I watch movies, and sure, I see the little seams poking out, but maybe you ignore those. Maybe you start to just appreciate the seams for what those are. But whatever the case, you're still a fan of telling stories, no matter what your position is on set. Just for myself, the more features, I mean, I've written over 30 feature scripts, several TV pilots. I haven't counted those. A bunch of shorts, web series, whatever. I've written a bunch of stuff. I see the seams, and I try not to drive my wife too crazy. And she's always like, "Oh, I bet you knew exactly what was going to happen and everything." Honestly, not really. I'm sure if I thought about it before we watched, say, a new Marvel movie or something, I would probably know what all the beats are. But I tend to just say, you know what? I'm just going to sit on this roller coaster. I'm just going to ignore all the hills I see ahead and just be surprised when they get here. And then occasionally I am very surprised at something that happens. And I know that it's a quote unquote a beat. Like I still remember going to see Knives Out in the theater, and I could recognize different things as they happened. But the one that really surprised me, and I guess spoilers for the first Knives Out, whatever, it's several years now, is when you find out who the killer is at the midpoint. And of course, it's the person we've been following this whole time, and we like them very much. At this point, we're into them as a character, just like, oh, I hope they succeed in their journey. Oh, how are they going to get out of this pickle? Not just, oh, there's a few minutes left to resolve this. No, there's an entire half of the movie to go. What is going to happen after this? And that was, I knew it was the midpoint of the movie, and that was the big shift that happens. But it just got me thinking, like, oh man, I have absolutely no idea how this is going to resolve in the next 45 minutes. If this is near the end of the movie, I could probably guess, but like, man, there's a lot of movie to go. This is either going to get really messy or there's something super clever happening here. And I thought the entire movie was pretty clever. Sequel was okay. The first one was still just a lot of fun because you couldn't really see the hills of the roller coaster. I couldn't anyway. And I was just very impressed by the basic structure of the movie. And that's what I mean. Like that sounds very boring and nerdy and a little like I've been doing this too long thing. Oh, I can appreciate the scene, the beats, blah blah blah. But it's true, and that's the kind of thing I mean about keeping that little flame inside of you. Sure, you don't watch the things that you enjoy the same. Like you just can't do that. Like, you can't watch a movie after reading a million scripts or whatever, or writing some, or being on set and seeing how actors are doing this and that and the other, or set deck or whatever, and you know how shots are set up. You just can't watch things the same anymore. But you can enjoy them in a new way that may perhaps enhances your enjoyment that you had before. Maybe as a little kid, you watched movies and were blown away. Now you can be blown away in a different way. And I think that's very important for working in this industry, because it's tough and it sucks and it's the worst, but then it's the best. And just watching things encompasses that. You can yell and scream and get mad at your professors or whoever, yourself. Like, why did I do this to myself? No, I can't enjoy things. No, you can. You're just going to have to reposition a few things within yourself to do so again. It's very easy to be cynical. Very easy to be cynical. And it's a tough thing to do, to break out of that. But if you want to make a go of this, I think you have to figure it out. Be like Burton C. Bell and just go enjoy Slipknot, because you think they're super cool, and that's all that matters. All right, that's it for this week. Thanks for listening. Again, make sure to go subscribe wherever you find your podcasts. All our socials are ATL Film Chat across the board. Emails atlfilmchat@gmail.com. Reach out and say hello. You have a suggestion for future episodes. Maybe you want to come on the show. Whatever. atlfilmchat@gmail.com. And happy April, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to Atlanta Film Chat. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. The show is produced by Tranquil Aggression Productions and Zombie Cat Productions. Your host is Chuck Thomas. Editing is by Joshua Goldkey. The soundtrack is by Michael Breezy Keys Jones. I am your humble announcer, Rob Scheimer. Remember, you are your own biggest fan. So go out, make your projects, and don't let anyone stop you.